Welcome, NoDQ Galaxy, to another edition of the NoDQ Review. Post Hell in a Cell. Is that how you would say that, guys? Post Hell in a Cell. I am Virtue being joined. Don't turn your YouTube off. I'm being joined by Cass, TJS, and Aaron Rift. What's up, everybody?
We got Medium Cass here, who some of you might recognize from the Season 5 of Wrestling Trivia Challenge. Chris hosted 9 of the 10 episodes. I figured since I bumped him from the finale, I owed him one. Greg Cherry is taking a vacation now that the season is over. He needs one because he got so burned out from that season, and he just needs a break from wrestling in general. So Greg will be gone for a few weeks, and Chris is filling in. Chris, how does it feel to be on the NoDQ Review with us?
I feel like I've finally been called up to the big leagues, and if Wrestling Trivia Challenge goes my way, this won't be the only thing I'm replacing Greg in. But other than that, I'm happy to be here and talk about some stuff. I finally get my chance to shine outside of trivia here.
All right, sounds good. And TJS, you up for some discussion today? How you feeling?
We have a lot of topics to get to, and it's a loaded list, folks. It's going to be a good one, trust me.
Absolutely. All right, Virtue, let's go ahead and get started.
Shall I get started? So Hell in a Cell happened this past weekend. And Aaron, I honestly can't remember what your grade was for the show.
A-.
Okay. I gave it a B-. I was a little critical of a few of the things, such as I thought Jeff and Orton did not need to be in the cell because I wanted to see – I knew something was going to go down with the ear. Did I think he was going to use a screwdriver, putting it through the gauge and twisting the cartilage? No. But I think if that was outside of the cage, that would have meant even more. And for all – what did Jeff do? He just went up at the top and he just swung a little bit and came down on the table. That should have been AJ and Joe's spot. But obviously, they did that finish. That kind of screwed Joe over. Interesting. And then the main event. I called Demon Finn. Didn't get it. We got Brock Lesnar. And I can't say that I'm ticked because everybody thought Brock was done.
Yeah.
He was going to UFC. And all of a sudden, Vince brings him back. And I've heard the argument, well, because Braun and Roman can't carry the brand. And they can't carry these big shows in Saudi Arabia. You got to bring Brock back. You got to have Triple H versus Undertaker with Kane and HBK. I've heard all this garbage nonsense. Look, if Vince didn't like the guys that he pushes to the top, would he have done it for the last 4 or 5 years? Probably not. It's in an era where no superstar, other than maybe Brock, is bigger than the WWF, and Vince knows that. So what's everyone's thoughts on Hell in a Cell? I gave it a B-. I was critical of the non-finish at the final match. That probably took me a letter grade down. I was a little upset. I thought Roman should have went over, even if they would have had some weird thing happen to Braun to protect him. Cass, I'm going to start with you. What were your thoughts? What was your favorite match and your letter grade?
Well, I'm going to give it probably a B+, and it lost from the A for the same reason that you did for the non-finish. I just did not think that was a good idea. I know they want to protect people, but there's better ways to do it than just have like Brock come out and beat the crap out of everyone and be like, okay, bye, I'm leaving now, see you in a month. I don't think that they would have needed Brock for the Saudi Arabia show because I feel like with those being like kind of like a bot show that they don't need to worry about selling tickets to those because people will go either way.
Unless the Prince is over there demanded Brock Lesnar. You don't know.
That is true. I mean, I'm sure at the price tag that Vince gets for those that he's like, hey, Brock, I'll like double your salary. Please come. I need you. But yeah, other than that, I really did enjoy the show. I loved the tag match. I thought the finish of that was excellent, and I love like kind of like you think something's gonna happen, then boom, out of nowhere, like McIntyre hit the Claymore and it was all over. I love that kind of finish, but I was hyped for the whole pay-per-view up until the end, and it just really brought it down for me. It just kind of felt like, all right then. I guess that's how this is gonna end. But other than that, that's pretty much my thoughts on it.
One of my biggest problems is I feel that they're treating the WWE Championship which is the historic championship in that company, and AJ Styles, such like a mid-carder. We're going to talk about that later. And that, you know, the way they presented that, that's exactly what happened. They didn't get to sell. They were in the middle of the card. I mean, more or less. TJS, what's your thoughts?
Well, you know, wrestling-wise, I think the show was a solid A. Booking-wise, C+. Because, so at the end of Orton and Hardy, you had Hardy fall. And, you know, they didn't stop that match, but they stopped the main event, the Universal title match, because neither man could continue. Are you telling me that one of those two couldn't crawl over and make the cover? Are you kidding me? But Jeff Hardy falls from the cell, and then, oh no, they call for the medical help. But the match continues so Orton can cover him.
More importantly, what happened to Braun and Roman to put them out of commission for so long to allow all those guys to do the... Did I miss something? Because that was like 7-8 minutes.
It was the spear through the table. Apparently that killed them dead for 7-8 minutes. That was my biggest criticism.
Why was it a no contest then?
Yeah, great point. I mean, you're trying to put too much logic into this, but I agree with you. That was dumb. That was the worst part about that match. I did not mind Lesnar for the reasons I said on my video. I thought it was a nice surprise, and it left me intrigued to see the follow-up, and that doesn't happen too often. I was curious coming out of that show to see what would happen next.
Now, since you know the follow-up, Aaron, are you still okay with that finish?
I mean, it is what it is. I'm not going to change my letter grade of the show. I still enjoyed it from start to finish. I thought there were no bad matches. I was entertained. I wasn't bored at any time during the show. As far as AJ and Joe goes, I know you guys were talking about that. I do feel like it needs to be stepped up with those guys, and maybe because the next pay-per-view they're doing the NoDQ match, that will get the main event spot. I really hope it does. If there's any show to do it, Roman and Strowman are in that 6-man match. That doesn't need to close the show. I think this would be the right pay-per-view to have AJ and Joe, no DQ match for the WWE title, close the Super Showdown pay-per-view.
But how many people in the United States are going to be watching that live? So that's why they'll probably make it the main event, because they know a lot of people won't be watching it live.
What is the like official start time like in Australia for that? Are they starting it at noon so it starts here? Are they starting it late so it's in the morning here?
It starts 5 a.m. Eastern time, 2 a.m. Pacific time.
Aaron, Triple H and Undertaker is going to close. There's no way the WWE title match is going to.
Oh man, yeah.
There's no way. Triple H and Undertaker are closing. So
that's so sad.
This is what
AJ. They're getting the shaft.
Back to Hell in a Cell, though. Oh, like I thought one surprise that I actually was kind of. I know Aaron, you enjoyed it. Becky won. I mean, like this wasn't that not kind of shocking that they booked that way?
Yeah, I liked it.
And,
I'm glad Becky won the title.
But here we go. You know, people want her to see her as baby faces. WWE says she's a heel, so we will see if she gets the Stone Cold treatment or not. So did everybody get all their Hell in a Cell thoughts off their chest?
Okay, I just want to say one thing about that Jeff Hardy Orton Hell in a Cell is how bad the timing was on him, like swinging back and forth. He already looked down and saw Orton was off the table, and then he's like, well, I'm going to fall anyway. Okay, bye.
That was my biggest criticism of that match, the fact that the timing was a little bit off on that, and Hardy should have had time to try to move out of the way or get down somehow.
Just felt like Orton moved too soon.
Yeah.
What they should have done is try to get an RKO while Hardy was coming down. That would have looked really cool.
That would have been tough, though.
Yeah,
it would have been good. It would have been tough. I just thought that being in the cell with minimal Jeff Hardy bumps for a cell match really took away from that ear spot, which was the match. I mean, that was the cringeworthy spot for the match. It was supposed to make you go, ugh. And it did still, but it could have been better emphasized, in my opinion, without the cell. But anyway, hey, Clay, somebody on Twitter, I complain about booking when, to me, it does not make sense. Like Finn Balor never got his Universal title rematch. Yeah. Yes, I'm allowed to complain about it.
It is interesting, though, because this is like the first time I can remember that I gave the show a better letter grade than you.
Yeah, well, Roman's the Universal Champ in the main event, and when you don't end the main event with a clear-cut winner, I'm going to do that. Speaking of events, Hell in a Cell has finally passed. We have Super Showdown in Australia, Evolution, and now we got another show they're promoting, Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. All right, so here's how I wrote this out. I want to know everybody's opinion here on what Lesnar's return means, because they had to bring him back, or Crown Jewel specifically. Now it's a triple threat match for the Universal title, and yet we have another show being promoted while we already have other ones being promoted. And I think they're getting so far ahead of themselves. Aaron, you said it best. They're too big to fail, so they're going all in. We're going to get big. We're going to be bigger than ourselves. That's what WWE is doing. They're promoting themselves as bigger than they actually are, because they're going 3 shows ahead of time. So, TJS, you think Brock is needed here, and are we going to continually have 3 shows being promoted at all times now? Is this the new thing?
Well, it certainly seems that way, unless WWE plans on, maybe they're just promoting all these shows at once, since they have those, the overseas shows like Super Showdown and Crown Jewel. Those are kind of special since they're overseas. Hopefully that's all, they've been promoting Evolution. They haven't stopped promoting Evolution since it was announced. And I know we made the jokes about, are they just going to plug this every week? They are. They are. And as far as Brock being needed for Crown Jewel, I think that it only makes sense to bring him back, because if he left, then you'd have people complaining that Brock never got his rematch, and now he's getting it. And I guess adding him to the mix makes things a little interesting. But in my opinion, that doesn't justify the non-finish, which, by the way, adds to the statistic of 4 failed Money in the Bank cash-ins. So, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the non-finish.
Maybe this is what we need Greg Cass, maybe you can answer this. The original Hell in a Cell match with Taker and Shawn, did Shawn not still pin Taker after Kane came out? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. I know some people thought that was a no contest. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, Kane came out tombstone him, then Shawn just rolled over and put like one hand on his chest, and that was it.
We couldn't have even got something like that.
Nope. It doesn't make any sense.
All right, Cass, I'm going to pass it over to you, and here's food for thought. Evolution, the first all-female WWE event, pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it. Days later, it's an all-male event at Crown Jewel. Is that not ironic?
It truly is, but it goes back to what I said earlier when talking about the Crown Jewel show, and this Saudi prince called up Vince and said, hey, come do a show on this date. Hey, but that's like a couple days after a women's pay-per-view. I don't care. I'm giving you $20 million. Okay, gladly. So I feel like Vince put the money before what made sense, and he's like, I don't care if it's days out of the women's pay-per-view. Do you see how much they're paying me? So he just doesn't care.
The women probably wouldn't complain either. I'm sure they're going to get something, even if they don't show up at Crown Jewel. Maybe they have like some kind of little, to say, sorry that you can't make it. Here's this.
Yeah, they got their pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Cass, so any more detail from your point of view on Brock? Like, do you think, I think Braun and Roman could have held their own without Lesnar. Now, it does make sense that storyline-wise, Brock is a participant, and why would he not get his rematch? He's just going to leave, right, and go to UFC. So from that standpoint, I get it, but
yeah, it makes sense that Brock came back, because in a way at SummerSlam, Braun kind of did cost him, because he was distracted with Braun to allow Roman to spear him to get the win. So he has beef with both guys. So it would make sense for a triple threat, and it kind of makes sense that they did it this early and are promoting Crown Jewel, because you can't bring him back for, say, Super Showdown, because Brock probably said, I'm not going to Australia, screw you. I'm not going to interfere in a six-man. I don't want to leave, North America. I'm going to come back at Hell in a Cell, and you're going to promote me after that, because you have to, because I'm your biggest draw, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm not going to Australia. So in a way, it does make sense that they are promoting all 3 shows. Brock does make sense, because if he wants the money, I'm sure Vince will give it to him, especially if the Saudi prince wants it. And there's really like it's kind of like comes down to money. He doesn't really care about anything else, that being Vince, and as long as the money's there, that's all he wants. Money talk.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't like maybe 2 shows at once, but 3. Hey, Aaron, you remember the days of the Big 4, and then King of the Ring was like all of a sudden we have a 5th pay-per-view?
Yeah.
And then what, 95, 96, whenever it was, in your house, we're going to have one every month.
Yeah, and keep in mind, we had WCW also with a pay-per-view every month. So we actually did have a lot back then, too, between WWE and WCW. And back in those days, you had to pay the $40 or $50. And let's face it, not a lot of people bought all the pay-per-views. It was
okay, so are you suggesting we're getting more bang for our buck then with the WWE Network? I mean, we are.
I still think we're getting too much content for WWE, and guys are being overexposed. We're seeing too much Roman Reigns, too much Braun Strowman, and quite frankly, I hate to say it, but too much Brock Lesnar. I'm tired of seeing the same thing from Brock Lesnar. I want to see maybe a different kind of match, maybe Batista coming back and facing Brock Lesnar, or maybe even Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar. Just change it up. Do something different. If Brock Lesnar is going to be around, I want to see something different. But Chris does make a good point. I mean, they do have this story to tell. There was that controversy at SummerSlam. So I think this should be it, though. This match at Saudi Arabia, last time we see Reigns and Lesnar in the same ring together. You move on after that.
All right. Well, you know what else caught my interest this week on Raw? Now Kane is going to be being in the Undertaker's corner at Super Showdown. We already know Shawn is going to be there in Triple H's corner. So at what point have we gotten to where Triple H versus Undertaker, so much for end of an era, right? I mean, this is another end of an era. Is this the end of an era since that end of that era, maybe? We're using Kane and HBK as ring valets. I mean, more that's the way I'm looking at it. Cass, I want to start with you. What's your thoughts on why they're doing this?
Honestly, it's probably just a little bit of fantasy booking in my head, but maybe like a lot what they did with The Rock in 2011. Maybe they want to, like, if Shawn Michaels does want to come back, maybe they want to do like, hey, maybe at Survivor Series, let's have like Brothers of Destruction against DX just to see if Shawn can still go and hang in there, like kind of like what they did with The Rock when he teamed with Cena against the like Miz and R-Truth. And I might be a little bit of fantasy booking, but I kind of see them going that way as like something will happen, big like cluster will happen, and then they'll be like, okay, let's have a tag match and do it at like Survivor Series. That could be their big selling point of that. But I think something's going to happen that leads down the line to them all getting intertangled, and they want to do like some fantasy warfare thing.
Well, according to Dave Meltzer and a few other people, it looks like there's going to be a tag match at the Saudi Arabia show. Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement to team up with Triple H against Undertaker and Kane.
Wow, they really are throwing a lot of money at WWE, aren't they? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, Shawn must be
was that a rumor? Did they want Ultimate Warrior and didn't know he passed away? Or was that a big rumor back then? I heard that they wanted Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, that's the big story,
Wow.
And I don't know if that's the case. And it could be. They could be behind the times with that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, it would make sense that Saudi Arabia wants Brock Lesnar and would want somebody like Shawn Michaels to appear on that show. And, yeah, if you believe the rumors, Shawn Michaels, Brock Lesnar, those guys are making some big, big bucks for this show. And, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I've seen some mixed reviews about Shawn Michaels and some mixed thoughts about him coming back. And Virtue, how are you feeling if he does come back and not only comes back at the show in Saudi Arabia, but also in a tag match? How do you feel about that?
When you're a professional wrestler, you're never retired unless you physically, like Edge, can't go, or you pass away. And that's just my opinion. Shawn, to me, was playing the storyline that he retired in respect to the Undertaker streak at WrestleMania. If Undertaker says, Shawn, I want you to wrestle again, I think he would. You know what I mean? It's kind of a respect thing. I think Shawn would do it more so for the people that he's working with that want him to do it, like Undertaker, than for Vince McMahon. Of course, the payday's great. So, but if it's a tag match, I don't want that just to be it and then he's retired again. It has to lead to him having another epic WrestleMania match, TJS.
Well, I think I'm in the minority here, but I don't want Shawn to come out of retirement. I think if there was ever the time, it was at the Royal Rumble that was at the Alamo Dome, and he should have taken on AJ Styles. Now, I think that Undertaker having Kane in his corner and HBK being in Triple H's is just to add more star power to this show. Because you look at the greatest Royal Rumble, you had the 50-man Rumble, and that made up for all the star power. You just threw a bunch of random people in there, and you could say, we have over 50 guys on this show, but, you have HBK, Triple H, Undertaker, and Kane all on that card. I mean, that kind of adds up to the star power of probably, anyone in the greatest Royal Rumble. Like I said, I hope that Shawn stays retired, because we saw what happened when Ric Flair came out of retirement, when Sting came out of retirement. We got the Joker Sting and TNA, and it was just a mess. I feel like Shawn Michaels went out on a good note, and I feel like they need to just stay retired, because if he doesn't, then I feel like it would take away from the WrestleMania match that he had that ended his career. That's just my take.
Interesting. You may get some heat for that. I think everybody wants to see Shawn Michaels in some way or another. I mean, that's just my opinion.
See, I kind of agree with TJS. Like, Shawn's retirement felt like the one real retirement, and I was happy that he actually stepped away, and he really had nothing else to prove. I mean, him coming back, it feels like he's just coming back for the money. And yeah, like TJS said, if he was going to come back, Alamo Dome, AJ Styles, that would have been hot. That would have been fun to watch. And I still would like to see Shawn against somebody like AJ Styles. I'd rather see that than the nostalgia match, which is basically what this is. It's a nostalgia match, and they're doing it in Saudi Arabia to please the guys there. So I definitely have mixed feelings about it. I don't know how I feel. I'm definitely torn.
Also, I mean, Shawn actually tweeted back to me in like 2013. I asked if he regretted retiring, and he said absolutely not. So that was like the first tweet I ever got back from a wrestler, and I was. I feel like Shawn,
on your wall.
What?
You have it framed on your wall, screenshot.
I should, but I feel like Shawn doesn't miss being in the ring, and I feel like people are going to watch wrestling. They're going to go back, watch WrestleMania 26, and, new fans maybe, and they'll be like, oh, so that was the end of Shawn's career, huh? And then, we tell our grandkids or something like, oh, no, he came back for a random tag match in Saudi Arabia, so this match doesn't really mean much. The retirement match, that is,
You don't want to know. I mean, I just can't believe you wouldn't want to see Daniel Bryan versus the man that trained him, Shawn Michaels. All right.
I wonder if they're ever going to do that. We'll see if they actually do that or not. They may just.
But him coming back would entertain some type of possibility. You just don't know what you'd get, and we would take anything. But okay. I guess everyone wants to stick to the respect of the storyline with Undertaker ending his career. Okay, I can deal with that. How about this? Can we deal with this? Bobby Lashley really has no personality, no character other than his muscles. And he does have a pretty big, bright smile. I mean, he smiles. Maybe he smiles too much, but I like Lio Rush. I didn't really think I would as another flippin' flying wrestler, but the fact how they brought him in the whole sequence that happened on Raw with Kevin Owens and Elias, I like to see this guy be maybe just like a manager. I've wanted managers in wrestling for a long time. They just don't. Drake Maverick, I don't think so. Titus Worldwide, Heyman's an advocate. We don't have managers, right? I think Lio Rush could be that little Tom and Jerry type scenario. I like this. So what do you think? Obviously, Lashley needs it, right? He needs some type of somebody around him dancing and giving him personality. Aaron, I'll start with you. What do you think about this? Or is it just a flash in the pan, and is he just going to be a 205 guy?
Oh, I love it. I think it's a great decision to have him as a manager. And by the way, I like Drake Maverick as a manager too. And I know you're putting him down, but what else would you do with Drake Maverick? What else can you do with the guy? At least
I don't like him yet. I have to see more.
Okay, gotcha.
I got to see more.
I understand that. Lio Rush already showed a lot on Raw this week, dodging Kevin Owens throwing the chair at him, and that was really entertaining. I mean, I think it's definitely a good pairing. Time will tell if it actually works out for Lashley. It is kind of weird, though, because usually managers are representing heels, not baby faces. So we'll see how things go. I still think Lashley should go heel. I think that would be more intriguing to see Lashley as the heel, and then you have Lio Rush doing all the trash talking, and Lashley's the muscle to back it up. So we'll see. I think there's some possibilities with this. I think there's some potential, and I did enjoy it on Raw. TJS, your thoughts?
I agree with you. I thought it was awesome. Lio Rush is just, he's got charisma, and I loved his little intro for Bob the Lash. I thought it was good. And then his little sequence was awesome, too. I got sort of like the Enzo and Cass vibes, maybe. Maybe Bobby Lashley's not as big as Cass. Here's my one problem with it. I'm not sure if you watch 205 Live or not. I know Aaron and Virtue don't. Cass, do you?
I've watched like a few episodes here and there. If something good happens, that's about it.
I used to before Enzo got fired.
Okay.
Same here.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is that Lio Rush is a heel on that show, and he's a babyface on Raw. And then you have Drake Maverick, who's a face on 205 Live, but a heel on Raw. And I guess you could say that's not canon or whatever, but I don't know. Other than that, I love it. Not sure if I want Lio Rush to wrestle or not. I'd rather him just, stay the manager, at least on Raw. But I mean, definitely, it's smart to have him on Raw because, you see people doing those flips and whatever. That gets eyes on 205 Live, maybe. Cass, what do you think?
Well, first of all, before we start this, I'd just like to say I was soured on Lio Rush like 3 years ago when I seen him no-sell a Canadian Destroyer off a ladder. That pissed me off. But now I like love this thing that he's doing there, where he's like almost like a spoiled rich kid on 205 Live, but then on Raw kind of still has the same characteristics of it. But he's like, it's almost like Lashley is the big brother and he's like the little brother that just runs his mouth the whole time. Like, come on, you want to fight? And then when they come at him, he just ducks and dodges and runs away. And he's like, come on, help me, big brother. Like, beat him up. And I think it's a great dynamic. Gives Bobby Lashley great personality because he had nothing before. Like you said, all he did was smile and have muscles. Yeah. And it gives him something because without any like character, you're not going to get anywhere. Unless you have
it just goes to show, like, there's a niche fan base that likes guys like Lio Rush because of flipping and flying in the ring, no selling. But, like, I didn't go and rush to watch him in NXT or 205. Then all of a sudden I see him on Raw running away from Owens, dodging Elias, and I'm, like, entertained. So, again, I'm more on the sports entertainment side than wrestling side, but I still try to enjoy both. So that's what I see out of Lio Rush. I want to see more of this type of stuff. Right, Aaron? It's about entertainment. Remember
Absolutely.
The good old days?
Yeah.
Good old days. We did the Hell in a Cell preview and predictions last week, so we really didn't talk about this, but Renee Young has replaced the coach on the Raw announce team. So I'm all for having a female on there. It makes sense. Evolution's coming up. They're going to have, obviously, Renee's going to be one of the announcers for that, too, correct?
Yes.
Correct, guys? So I like this. Coach, Booker T, JBL, it seems like no one could settle into that spot. Well, most fans were not liking whoever that other personality was, but I don't think they can really say that about Renee. And she hasn't done an awful job. I mean, you can tell she's kind of learning a little bit on the job. I've heard Cole tell her stop talking. Actually, they actually said that her first week. Cole's like, hold on, Renee. So the timing might be a little off, but I like this. I like where it's going. Aaron, any thoughts?
I think it's a good decision to have her there, and I think the general consensus is that the commentary team is better off with 2 people instead of 3. I know I prefer just 2, but as long as Renee can add something, and so far I think she's doing well, and yeah, I think there is room for improvement. And I think she'll get better over time as she gets more comfortable in the position. She's still fairly new to the job. So far, so good. I am enjoying her, and it's definitely an improvement over Coach. Coach really added nothing to the mix, in my opinion. And I think Renee just stands up for herself more. Like, you notice Corey Graves really doesn't insult her, and if he does try to say something, she fires right back at him. You know, she's not like Byron Saxton where she's the butt end of the jokes, you know. So yeah, so far so good. Chris, your thoughts?
Well, I was watching like Hell in a Cell with my girlfriend the other night, and I kind of pointed out to her that it just, I don't know if it's my 20 plus years of watching wrestling and always hearing a male voice, but it almost feels like her voice kind of like sounds out of place. I don't know if it's because it's like not like booming like a typical male voice or anything like that, but it almost feels like she's just kind of there. She has no like presence. I don't know how you would improve that at all, but I think she's doing a great job in what she's saying. But sometimes it just doesn't feel like she's there, and it feels like we'll go like a lot of time without even hearing her talk. But when she does, she's doing a good job. And I think it's a vast improvement over everyone else that they've had there, like what Aaron said, where they were pretty much just getting bullied by Corey Graves or whatever, whether it was Saxton or Booker T or whatever. And it's just it's something different to go with, and it does lead into evolution. And you know, maybe they'll have a women's show in the future, so they want to have all women involved in that. But it's just, I don't know if it's just like the voice, but like, because I'm used to say like JoJo and Lillian Garcia like ring announcing, and they kind of have like a powerful voice. It's like when they talk, you're like, all right, who's coming out? I'm paying attention. Right. But with Renee Young, it might be taking some getting used to, but it just feels like her voice isn't like telling me a story yet in a way. But right. I don't know what you guys think of that, but I'd like to get TJS's thoughts on this.
Hashtag bring back Booker. I don't know. I just...
Here comes the heat.
Did you hear Renee Young's line on Raw? Did you hear it? She said, I think Dean Ambrose wants a piece of this pie.
That was funny.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to hear... I'm most intrigued about when Ambrose is out there. I want to hear her little... That's the best.
I don't know.
Jerry Lawler.
Another problem that I have with Renee is whenever a big move is hit or a big spot, she just goes, "Oh."
They all do that.
You don't want to hear a female go, "Oh, come on, man."
Look, I think that no one has really called the moves like they should be.
Yeah, I agree.
You hear Michael Cole, he's just like, "Oh, he planted him." Planted him with what? A Uranagi, a DDT? Like, what did... I don't... And that's why I like Mauro Ranallo so much, because he calls the moves, and I feel... With Tom Phillips and Michael Cole and Corey, even Corey Graves doesn't really call the moves. I don't know. I'm indifferent for Renee.
I don't think anyone's actually called the moves on the main roster probably since, like, Matt Striker.
Yeah,
Well, Ranallo.
When Ranallo was there. But... I don't know. Michael Cole, he finally learned. He learned a move. I don't remember which one it was, but he finally started saying the name of it.
Bling Blade.
I don't know. Whatever. Right. Renee's fine. I'm glad.
Well, let's see. To be continued. We'll see how she grows.
You know why? You know why they all sound the same and they don't know the moves? Because they're all just saying what Vince is telling them to say. Vince is in their ear all the time, and Vince is the one who coined the phrase, "What a maneuver!" You know, every
get Vince on commentary again, please. He even called the moves.
Yeah, what a maneuver.
Yeah.
What a maneuver. I loved his voice, though. He had a good voice. With Cole, I just get so tired of hearing it.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how Renee grows. This past week, in basically bland fashion, Matt Hardy announced his retirement. I don't know if it was just from WWE or we know he's got some hip and back problems with the whole hurricane thing. Obviously, they got cleanup and things to focus on there. Right. Do you think he should have had a bigger send-off? I mean, I do. And it sucks that he did this in WWE and they kind of just swept it under the rug and he did it on social media. I have a feeling if he was on Impact or in the Indies, they would have made a big last deal of his last event ever. Could you imagine if he could have been at All In? He would have did something spectacular to go out in great fashion. TJS, I want to start with you. It just, to me, and you got to remember, right, wrestlers, you're never officially retired. Granted, he might have some injury that'll keep him from being able to take any more bumps, right, like Edge, but I just felt like this sucked. I mean, I wanted to see a good send-off. What do you think?
Well, we got a little YouTube video. It was like less than 5 minutes long, and he was just pretty much saying like, "Hey, I'm not going to wrestle in WWE anymore." And I thought that was sad because I believe that Matt Hardy was, he's one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time, and I was a big Hardy Boys fan. And when Matt was solo, I was like, I like the version 1 stuff. But I really never really started to love Matt Hardy until he started doing the broken gimmick. And I found out that this was his idea to do it. I just really admired him. And he was a ring general. And it's really sad to see him go out. I wish he would have gotten a retirement speech. I don't understand why he didn't. He could have came out with a broken character and then transitioned. Once he started talking on the mic, he could do his little laugh and then get serious and then, just give him like a 10 minutes. Give him something. We have 3 hours of Raw that's just full of crap. You could give this guy something. Cass.
And he did say just from WWE, right? Did he say from all of wrestling? So
yeah,
that almost makes it feel like ... Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Cass?
I feel like it's going to be a lot like Christian's retirement, where no one really just says anything. He just kind of happens. I guess he has announced his retirement, unlike what Christian did. But I'm sure he'll get some other thing going and always leave the door open to return. When I was a kid, Matt was actually my favorite Hardy over Jeff because everyone liked Jeff and I didn't want to be like the popular choice. But it's one of those things where I feel like him and Jeff are just finishing up, and maybe they'll get their official, hey, we're retiring, this is it, at a Hall of Fame, it will bring them in together. They announced it, hey, we're done. Maybe down the line there'll be one last tag match just for nostalgia against some up-and-coming team. But I just feel like he's not big enough in terms of where he's at and say on the card in WWE his whole career to warrant I'm coming out and announcing my retirement. Thank you, everyone. It'll just kind of swept under the rug, just like Mark Henry was this year, where it's oh, Mark Henry's going to the Hall of Fame, but he's never really officially announced his retirement. But he's going in the Hall of Fame, and now you're going to find out that he's retired now. And I think that's what's going to happen with both Hardys, and they're going to go in at the same time in the Hall of Fame.
Very well could happen. I would have liked to have seen maybe an angle, at least, where Hardy was taken out by somebody just to give somebody the rub, saying they ran out Matt Hardy from the WWE. Yeah, could have been Orton, could have been anybody. I just think anything than what they actually did, just having him do the house shows and then just disappear and post his little message on social media.
What if they, sorry to cut you off, but what if someone like a Bray Wyatt took Matt Hardy out of the Woken gimmick, threw him in the pond or something, and then he came out as regular Matt Hardy, and then he was like, "What happened to me? I don't remember what happened. It's too dangerous. I'm never going to wrestle again." That's a story.
Hey, there you go. See, you're doing a better job of coming up with creative stuff than WWE. I mean, yeah, anything would have been nice, and maybe even some kind of one more match like that, one more Hardy compound battle, and then he goes back to being regular Matt and goes off into the sunset. Just any little send off for him would have been great. And maybe he will do one more match. Maybe we will see one more final deletion or ultimate deletion before he's done for good. Maybe he will wrestle again. Never say never, right?
Yeah, we'll see. And maybe he'll show up at Madison Square Garden at that Ring of Honor New Japan event.
Doubt it.
Just to make an appearance.
I think he's going to do.
He's worked with Ring of Honor. He's worked with Ring of Honor before, though. I mean, just for a buzz, though.
I think he's going to do the producing work
for WWE.
Yeah.
Well, they could do a thing, what you said with Orton earlier too, because I seen last night on SmackDown, Orton went into the video truck and all that stuff. They could have Matt working as a producer, and Orton could go in there and have a thing with him to write him off by beating him up backstage or something while he's trying to produce. Could be something they do.
How do you know that's the next topic? We're going to move over to SmackDown and talk about Randy Orton in the production truck, putting his hands all over that production truck worker. Who knows where his hands were before that segment. But, they were showing the Jeff Hardy stuff with the gauge, the screwdriver, the ear. More importantly, he said, it seems like he's going after his next victim. It was a tease. Who could it be? And I'm sitting there going up and down the SmackDown roster, and I want to know everybody's thoughts. What would be cool for Orton's next feud? Maybe Jeff finally, I don't know if Jeff's going to take a little bit of time off to go take care of the hurricane damage. Obviously, sell the injuries. But what do you think about Orton's next feud? TJS?
Oh, man. This is hard for me to call because, he said he wants to take out the fans' heroes. So, when I thought of fans' heroes, 3 people came to mind. AJ, who's currently feuding with Samoa Joe, which means that Randy Orton would have to wait, before he could start feuding with AJ if Samoa Joe doesn't win the title. And then number 2, I think Daniel Bryan, but he's also feuding with The Miz right now. And, he is that number 1 contenders match and at Super Showdown, which I have a feeling Daniel's going to win it since he lost twice to The Miz already. So that's 2 of the big favorites on SmackDown. And number 3, the only one that I can think of is Rey Mysterio. Because he's reportedly signed a 2-year deal. Maybe we'll see him come in. But the problem with that, to me, is you have to have a big hero come in and stop the villain Randy Orton because he's already taken out Jeff Hardy, and he's going to take out another victim, and there's going to have to be a third guy that beats Orton. But if you bring Ray in, I have a feeling that he would lose that feud, and I guess Ray can afford to do that since he's the underdog. And Randy Orton versus Ray, and those 2 can put on a good match. You can have Randy Orton go after the mask, bring Rey Mysterio back, give him a promo, and then Randy beat him up, try to unmask him, and then there you go. Cass?
I completely go with that, but I don't feel like Daniel Bryan is going to win at Super Showdown. I feel like Joe is going to lose his match too. Miz will win because of Randy Orton's interference on Daniel Bryan, taking out the fan favorite Daniel Bryan. And Miz will continue to feud with AJ, and Orton goes on to Bryan. I don't know what Joe's going to do, but I don't know where that's going to go. I haven't really thought that much out, but I feel like, what?
Comedy.
Yeah, who knows? I just feel like Orton is going for Daniel Bryan next, and The Miz will be with AJ, and that's how this is all going to branch out to get everyone fresh.
Now, see, I think what makes the most sense is Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. I think Randy Orton has the heat right now coming off of Hell in a Cell, that big victory over Jeff Hardy. To me, that seems to be the next logical feud for Survivor Series. Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, or maybe they're going to do AJ versus Roman Reigns. I hope not. I really don't want to see champion versus champion again. Plus, we all know how that's going to go down. But yeah, I'd like to see Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. That's one of the possible feuds for AJ as champion. And I do think Joe is going to lose at Super Showdown. I don't think he's going to win the title. Like I said before, and we'll give credit to Interstate Kyle for this. He was the first one to say it. But I think AJ is breaking CM Punk's record as the longest reigning champion of the modern era, which means he will be champion until the Royal Rumble at least. I think AJ will defeat Samoa Joe, and then Randy Orton seems like the next feud into the fall. But maybe Joe will win. Who knows? And Randy Orton could feud with any number of people at this point.
So what happens? You think Randy Orton loses the feud with AJ then?
Yeah.
Well, then where does Orton go from there?
He's Randy Orton.
He's just a veteran heel. I mean, and you guys saying AJ and Daniel Bryan, obviously when Orton said that, that's the most logical one of those 2 guys. Gosh, Cass and Aaron, I don't know, man. I can see both of your. I could lean either way. So maybe for once, whatever way it goes, I will be surprised. So we'll see. If I had to pick right now, I'm going to lean towards Cass. I think I could see Orton messing with Daniel Bryan. Because the reason being, with the whole way they're doing the Orton gimmick, how he messed with Jeff's ear, he could really do some psychological stuff with Daniel Bryan in the head, and they can really play up the concussions in the neck with Orton doing, maybe bring the punt back.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, I don't know how far they want to do that type of stuff, but they did it with Jeff's ear. So, and that could buy the time to let Miz go on to feud with AJ, or however that works out for the title shot, and then Bryan could come back around and end up beating Miz down the road. I don't know. I mean, it could go.
what if you bring Jericho back then and have
He's a busy man. I'm not going to put my hopes up on Jericho in WWE right now. He's just a busy guy everywhere. So if we see him, then great. But, can't predict Jericho.
I'm actually pretty sure that Jericho and Fozzy are playing a show where I'm at in Halifax the same night of Survivor Series, too. So I don't see that.
He does take private jets, too, though.
And he's got his cruise. He has his cruise.
From California to Halifax, I don't think so.
Yeah, he's got his cruise coming up. He's got all sorts of things going on.
And
with
he's the IWGP IC champion,
yeah,
too.
So he's going nowhere
right now. You got to defend that title, man. Yeah, what's up with that?
If it goes the other way, though, I feel like I'm calling it now. The Miz is going to win the WWE title at the Royal Rumble.
It could happen, and then Daniel Bryan wins the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Let's not forget, too, AJ's on the cover of 2K19, so got to keep the WWE title. You know what? Let's talk about this next, since we brought up AJ. This I wasn't going to make this the main event, but I want to talk about it now. Because why put AJ in the main event when WWE doesn't even do it? So I know that was a low blow, but he's the mid-card champ that runs the camp, and CM Punk kind of went through the same thing. Ironically, the same record that AJ, Aaron, might pass. They don't look at AJ and that championship as the main draw on the main title like they do the Universal title with Roman and Brock hovering around it. And again, from a fan standpoint, we still like AJ no matter where he is on the card. It's great. He's got the historic belt that goes all the way back to the WWF. I think that's what it was called, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Meacham. Cass, you should know that, right?
Yeah, I think it was also the Capital Wrestling Federation at one point before that, wasn't it? I remember right.
But they just don't, it's Vince doing Vince things. Sure. I mean, is AJ even the main event on SmackDown? I mean, it doesn't even feel like he's the main event on SmackDown. Cass, I'm going to start with you. He's the mid-card champ that runs the camp, and it's unfortunate. Right?
I think it was even like last week on SmackDown. Didn't they have Brie Bella and Maurice main event, the television show that week? Which means they're trying to say that feud is bigger than the WWE title.
And what went off yesterday? Charlotte and Becky's, right? What ended SmackDown yesterday?
Yeah.
Was it AJ? Was it AJ?
Nope.
I just feel like it's almost become like an afterthought, and and on pay-per-views, they want to put the guy that sells the most tickets, which is Brock, and the guy that sells the most merchandise, which is Roman. One of those guys is going to be their main event. And no one else is going to stop that because that's their top guys. That's who they want. AJ is like, he's getting the CM Punk 2012 treatment where he's going to hold the title all year, but you're never going to main event unless you're against one of those guys. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad that he's not getting the kind of credit he deserves for the matches he's putting on. But when those guys that are selling the merchandise and selling the tickets are on the other show with the other belt, you're not going to get the main event over them in the pay-per-views.
Yeah, and
maybe all the hard work for AJ on SmackDown will translate during the next year's shakeup. He'll end up in the main event scene on Raw in the Universal title picture. I mean, who knows? That would be nice.
Yeah, but
Aaron?
I don't know what to say that hasn't been said already. Somebody got annoyed with me because I referred to AJ as a B+ player, and I'm not saying that about AJ personally. I'm saying that's how the company feels about him, and I feel
like Daniel Bryan.
Yeah,
remember?
Triple H's promo, Stephanie's promo, where they said Daniel Bryan's a good little hand. I think that's just a bit too close to reality, and I think the same thing applies to AJ Styles. He is a guy that the company can rely on to go out there, have great matches. He's reliable. He's a great worker. He's a workhorse, and they can rely on him, but they're not going to build the company around him. He just happens to be the WWE champion, which is the most prestigious title in the company. Universal title, not so much. And did you guys catch that line on Raw that Michael Cole said about the title, how the Universal title is the most prized possession in sports entertainment today? So tells you all you need to know. TGS, anything you want to add?
The universe is bigger than the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's what I'm hoping happens. Fox WWE just signed the deal with Fox. Hopefully, once that when SmackDown starts airing on Fox, AJ, his career takes off then. I'm hoping that he starts getting in the main events and that the WWE title becomes prestigious again. Once the show starts airing on Fox, you have to have a a big name hold the title, right? So maybe AJ will hold it until then. I don't know. Maybe he'll lose it and then win it back. But you guys put it best. He's getting the CM Punk 2012 treatment, where he's having this really long reign, but he's not main eventing the shows, the pay-per-views, or the TV. So, I don't know.
What month does that start on Fox?
October.
Of this year or
2019?
Next year.
Yeah, we still got a year to go.
I have a feeling by that time I could really see them Vince McMahon take all of his big players and transplant them onto SmackDown, like your Romans and your. That's what I see. I see it, especially if it's going to be on Fox. But again, to be continued, right? All right, Aaron.
Yes,
we'll make
sir.
this the main event. We'll make this the main event because I kind of been calling for this for a while, and it finally happened yesterday on SmackDown. So, for Rusev Day, we knew a long time ago Rusev got himself over, got a slogan over, sold T-shirts, but with guys like Zack Ryder in the past, if Vince McMahon and creative didn't orchestrate the push, it doesn't sustain into the main event. We've seen Rusev get a couple wins that we were, good Rusev Day. Ultimately, this was just going to lead to him floundering in the mid-card, but at least now you're potentially, for a short period of time, building up this Aiden English now to where at least he can get something other than being the sidekick. I like the turn on Rusev, and I like the fact that we're going to get a mid-card feud because let's be honest, do we really have too many mid-card feuds that are kind of somewhat interesting with nothing on the line?
Not really.
And I think this could be. Now, will it be Rusev just basically beating Aiden English and it's done, one and done, and it's over after that? Or can they actually build Aiden at least into some type of credible mid-card star? Wouldn't this be something if during this feud, Aiden still does a singing gimmick, but each week he starts looking a little more oranger and oranger, tanner and tanner, and he starts changing his image a little bit because he's a star on his own. I don't know, but I'm interested in this. I'm glad they turned Aiden and he's the heel in it. TJS, what are your thoughts? And is there going to be anything weird happen with Lana in this?
Well, I think our good friend Kayfabe Candy Ass said it best. He said that when the microphone box shattered, it was symbolic to Andre the Giant tearing off the cross of Hulk Hogan's neck. That's what it felt like to me when this happened. I was so sad. I really was because I thought Aiden English was really good at getting Rusev over. He was a great hype man, and I feel like Rusev Day is not going to be the same now because, the initial pop is when we hear the
Yep.
We hear that.
What was the most organically over thing not forced by WWE in the past 12 months? You'd have to at least put Rusev Day right up there, if not at the number one spot, right?
Yep.
Yeah, or
okay.
The Seth Rollins burn it down. I mean, that's the only other thing. But I mean, Rusev Day was supposed to be a joke, and it was a huge cash cow. And you heard Stephanie say that they're successful because they listen to their fans. I don't know. You have an entire arena chanting Rusev Day, and this guy's still lost in the shuffle.
That's got to be a troll on Stephanie's part, and she's probably, in her mind, just thinking what they give the fans with her husband's Triple H's vision of NXT is giving the fans what they want. She could always lie herself into something like that when she says
Yeah. I don't know. I think Aiden English is going to lose this feud, and maybe that's going to be the next feud, Samoa Joe and Aiden English. It's very likely because Joe's going to be as low in the card as English, it seems, after he loses. He's doing comedy with the bedtime story. Yeah, I don't know. Aaron?
I'll tell you this. I think there is a lot of potential if somebody knew what they were doing as far as creativity goes. What I think is going to happen is they are going to wrestle. It is going to be at Super Showdown Kickoff. Rusev is going to win, and we are never going to see Aiden English again. That is my official prediction.
Is he going to join Ty Dillinger in catering?
Yes. I am being very pessimistic with my prediction here, but realistic.
Realistic also.
Yeah. I mean, I think there could be a lot done with this storyline. I'd like to see Aiden tie up Lana on some train tracks or something like that just for fun.
He has
That's
that old
what I'm talking about, baby. That's what we need, that type of stuff. And then the match means so much more when they get to that point.
Yeah, because Aiden English reminds me of like that old-time villain. And of course, Lana's the blonde girl. It just works out nicely. There's so much they could do with this to make it fun. I don't think we're
better
going
not
to
bring
see...
Simon Gotch back.
Yeah.
Make Dutch Mantel Aiden English's manager. There you go.
He doesn't need a manager.
I am interested in hearing Aiden, though, come out and do the and getting himself over now. I mean, that I hope that we get to hear some cool stuff, him promoting his brand.
I hope so.
He got his own shirt. It says Happy Aiden Day, and it's like the Chicago flag. Not sure if you saw it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? If all else fails, they could always pair up Aiden English, have him go to Raw trade or something, and have him team up with Elias. You know, Elias could play the guitar, Aiden can sing. You could start a little rock band.
What about Aiden teaming up with Joe as heels, going from Rusev Day to be Joe's guy, sidekick? They're both going to need something to do, TJF, maybe, perhaps.
Nah, I don't know. Cass, what do you think?
Meanwhile, Cass is waiting to spill his guts over here.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Cass.
When
you thought up all this stuff when you said about Aiden English and Joe, I think what I was saying earlier about where's Joe going to go. Joe's next feud after Super Showdown, after Rusev beats Aiden English in a one-off match, it ain't going to mean shit. Rusev is going to feud with Samoa Joe, and it's going to lead to probably not a match, probably a big cluster of stuff in Survivor Series at some point. Maybe they'll have like a one-off at the December pay-per-view, or they'll have some interaction on, like I say, a Team SmackDown at Survivor Series. But Rusev and Aiden English isn't going to do anything after this feud. Rusev's going to win. Nothing's going to happen. He's going to flounder around, like you said, like the Ty Dillinger. He's going to be the guy that shows up. You forget about him. He shows up every 3 weeks to put a main event guy over because he can have a good match. And I feel like the only thing that's saving him from having a job still is because he's Eddie Guerrero's son-in-law. And that's the only thing that's going to keep him having a job. I have nothing against him, but I just feel like they're not going to do anything with him after Rusev beats him.
We're also forgetting Nakamura, too. Somebody's going to have to feud against him. And I think his heel turn has been a flop. Yeah. Maybe they should put Nakamura back to baby.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Nakamura's heel turn real quick.
Glad I brought him up.
All right, so we got an extra bonus topic here.
He's been a joke. How many times has this guy almost lost? You had Jeff Hardy almost beat him, and then Randy Orton saved the match. You have him almost lose to Rusev, and then he wins with a fruit roll-up. He didn't have a match at Hell in a Cell. He's been an afterthought. And I
both Rumble winners have been afterthoughts.
Yeah.
That's sad.
It is. And I feel like we're to the point where Money in the Bank doesn't mean anything, and we're to the point where the Royal Rumble doesn't mean anything because the Money in the Bank has been cashed in successfully in 2 years, for the men at least, and Nakamura's a joke. I feel like he's going to be doing comedy soon. Asuka's doing comedy with the whole teriyaki thing. It was awful. It's terrible. And I hope that Nakamura gets into a good feud with Rusev, and those two have barn burners because they can pull it off.
Chili jackers, to say the least.
All right, Cass, any thoughts on Nakamura? We know when you come to WWE, you make good money. I mean, there are a few people outside of WWE, Cody Rhodes and the Bucks, that can almost make WWE kind of money, but it's very few people that can do that outside. You think Nakamura at some point said, yes, I made the big stage on the United States, but when his contract comes to terms, do you think he'll have that itch to go back to New Japan and start doing Wrestle Kingdom again? I do. I really think it'll happen within the next couple of years.
I do agree with that. I feel like he's like, it was fun over here. I proved I could do it. I got some new opponents, gave my fans of myself a fresh matchups for me to be in, and I feel like he's just almost like not getting over in America, where they're just not really doing anything with him, and I don't see him doing anything for quite a while. I don't think he's going to have any real feud. He's just going to defend the title here and there against like Shelton Benjamin and some random guys like that. And maybe they'll have like a throwaway 4-way at the Saudi Arabia show with like just 4 guys just like, here, go have a match for the U.S. title. Nakamura's going to win. Then he'll be on Team SmackDown at Survivor Series when they do that Raw versus SmackDown. And then maybe he'll like turn face in that or feud with, I don't know, maybe like Joe at that point. But I just don't see Nakamura having any story, at least until the end of the year.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that his U.S. title run has basically been an afterthought and he doesn't really have any feuds or any real direction. It's hard to say, though, where he'll be in 3 or 4 years. You never know. But I feel like you guys are right. He will probably bow out after a couple of years and maybe go back to Japan. You know, he's getting up there a little bit, so I don't know how much longer he's going to keep wrestling. He may finish out his career in WWE and then retire. Who knows? But yeah, I hope they do more with him, and I'm not really sure where you go with him, but I would like to see him in some meaningful programs. I think Virtue said it best. I think maybe it's time to give up on this heel turn experiment and have him be a babyface again.
Yeah, and I think him and Asuka, unfortunately, they can't break the English language barrier to Vince McMahon in his mind, and I think that ultimately killed their Royal Rumble pushes, you know. And of course, we all know it's Vince McMahon's way or the highway. So I like that you brought that up, though, TJS. And
do you think that he would get more heat if he just spoke Japanese instead of?
I'd like that.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic. They're putting words up on the screen for English subtitles. Why not do the Japanese subtitles?
I say don't give him any subtitles. Just have him come out there and cut the promo.
Yeah, say I'm not you. You people don't deserve to have me talk in English. And he just
creative. Like I will always be critical. I'll never be critical of the talent and what they're given. But yeah, creative and booking, I can complain about that. We all do. But like I said, it's the people that end up extending that into saying the performers are awful. That's where I get all my heat on Twitter, and I argue with people because they do the best they can. I mean, they're more like actors in a play. When you're giving that script, you got to go out and deliver it, or you're going to be at catering. So that's just a big disconnect. It's never the performer's fault. Remember, it's not the era anymore where a superstar can become bigger than the WWE, because I think Vince likes to control all of his workers, and that's what he's doing now. And that's why Roman and Braun and all these guys just never seem bigger than the WWE. And Brock, special treatment because he's willing to come back. Vince will hand him a bunch of money. You know, he's a former UFC heavyweight champion. I think his record's like 5-3 or something. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but the fact is he's a former UFC heavyweight champion, and that holds some type of credibility, right?
Yeah.
All right, Aaron, Cass, do you want to bring up any bonus topics since TJS decided to go off script? That's all good. If not, I'm going to wrap it up.
Anything you want to add?
I have nothing on my mind right now other than I hope if they do subtitles with Nakamura that it doesn't end up like Kai and Tai in 2000 where it just becomes a big joke.
And, well, you know, the fans will just do the what chants, too, and I think maybe that's the reason why they don't do it. But anyways, Virtue, I think you need to warm up a little bit, so let's go ahead and wrap this thing up.
What? Warm up? Huh?
You'll get it later when you watch back on this video.
Okay.
About 15 minutes ago, you really cooled off significantly.
Surely did.
I missed it. It went over my head.
You're going to have to watch the video. You'll know what I'm talking about.
Did I freeze?
Yeah.
He got it.
Are you going to show it for everybody to see?
Yes.
And I went like this?
We can't see what you're doing right now. You could be flipping us off and we're not seeing it right now.
All right. Yes. Well, anyway, do your plugs, and I will start with Cass.
All right. I've said watch Wrestling Trivia Challenge, all the episodes that I'm on, just me, and watch the finale, I guess, too. But other than that, you can follow me on Twitter at CASS, and that's about it for my plugs.
All right, TJS.
Well, NoDQ.com/TJS. That's my Twitter. Follow me there. I have the updated NoDQ.com prediction cups results added. And sorry, guys, that's for staff only, so fans can't get in on that. But you can still look at the results. You can cheer who you think is going to win, predict it or whatever. And then NoDQ.com/shirts. Aaron Rift is wearing that NoDQ video shirt that you can pick up. There's all kinds of shirts there. There's Virtue shirt, Aaron shirt, Jeff Beecham shirt, Greg Cherry shirts. And speaking of Greg Cherry, I hate to say it, but we have the biggest wrestling trivia challenge matchup of all time coming up. It's going to be Greg Cherry, the defending champion, versus Brian Zane from Wrestling with Regret. That's going to be up Friday, folks. Don't miss it. I guarantee you it's going to be a barn burner. It's the finale, and it's going to be hosted by Aaron Rift.
Yep.
So, I love you, Chris, but we have Aaron hosting.
Hey, I had a front row seat to that, and when that goes up, you are not going to want to miss that. It was tense.
It was a great matchup, but that's all I'm going to say about it. I guess Virtue went to go warm up a little bit, and maybe we'll see him back on here. He's thawing out right now. I'll go ahead and do his plugs in case he doesn't show up. So go over to NoDQ.com/Virtue. He just did his video with Big G. That's up on his Facebook page. I think he also posted on NoDQ. So go check that out. And, of course, NoDQ.com for the latest regarding the Super Showdown pay-per-view. Stay tuned to NoDQ's YouTube channel this week. I'll be doing NoDQ video. And then, of course, the season finale of Wrestling Trivia Challenge. Is he really gone for good? I thought he was going to just come back so he could be on video again. But I'll sign off here. For Virtue, for Chris Cass, and for TJS, I'm Aaron Rift. Thank you guys for watching the NoDQ review. We will see you all next week.